Well, I wish I had the chat screen up. Hold on. There it is. Okay, well, this works better. Alright, picking up where we left off last time. This is pretty much that's pretty much it for the physical representation of the world. How it looks, how I'm visualizing it as I'm talking about it. And I'm usually thinking about it in this state here. That's how I'm usually thinking about it. Side to side, north, south, up and down, east and west, pretty much the same across the board. So, at least for now. We'll change that when we need to. After establishing how it looks in the mind, we'll start to establish how it got to this point. That point, there we go. So originally, as we stated before, here, let's open this all the way up. Oh, no, that's why. Figuring it out as we go along. Isn't that fun? Alright. Alright, whatever. Okay. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. The origin of Kairos. It originally started off as an uniformly flat, unending space. It's just that's it. It's very uninteresting, but that's how everything starts. So Kairos is formed at the very beginning. When Kairos is formed and becomes alive, so does the void or ether. Still have not thought about that part much because it's very new. So we have Kairos and ether. Is above, is below. Alive. Not alive. Kairos is the first being to exist in this world. She comes to consciousness as a her. She thinks herself as a her. Why? That's up to DM. I could change it if you want. I don't care. But I started off with Mother Earth. That was my origin. That's what I wanted to start with. So, Kairos was alive by herself for an unknown amount of time. It's unimportant to me right now, so I'm not going to think about it. And then, after being alone forever, she got lonely, started to become insular, and thus started to moving inward and crushing. And the crushing creates heat, pressure, blah, blah, blah. Fire is created. So next is fire. So at this point, Kairos is still flat, but slowly compacting inward and downward, and fire starts right here. You know what? We got fire. Make it a little bit orange. Maybe a little yellow. Maybe a little bit of blue. Nice and fancy. Fire is created and stuck inside of Earth. Earth loves her new creation of fire. As a child, it is also alive. Fire, whose name is Aaron. R means fire. We'll get into each culture of elements as they are established later. Fire, and he starts off below, but after he realizes he is killing his mother, he gets mad and escapes. He leaps through and out of the world, and thus creates the first, formation. Where is it? Fire starts. It kind of creates a mountain, a volcano. And then it erupts. And it is so forceful and whatnot that fire escapes, goes into the sky, becomes the sun. But also, these stars are formed. They do not form conscious. They slowly become conscious due to how magic works. So they're not there from the beginning, but they are a part of the same substance that makes these, quote, founder beings. Founders are the 4 elements. Without these 4 elements, there's nothing else. Because they did not start making things until after all 4 were established. They wanted more from their universe after that. So now the sun has been created. It is some distance far away, unknown at this time. And then from that, a long peace is established between them. Fire is now distant from his mother creator. Think of any familial relationship problem between a mother and the son, and that's this relationship. That's where this can stem from. That's where we get the source of the conflict of personal relationships. A lot of personal relationships in this setting. It's fantasy. Fantasy, to me, involves a lot to do with personal reflection and observation of your relationships and those around you. A lot of internal conflicts are gone through in fantasy, whereas I feel other genres reflect on different parts of reality, of the human experience. So personal relationships is pretty much the source driver in this setting. For pretty much anything. Change, physical change, material change, metaphysical change. It's all stems from some sort of conflict or drama. Could be funny, could be dramatic, whatever. But it's a storytelling setting, so storytelling is what moves things on. So whatever bad relationship issues you want to have, that's in this setting. You can probably make the classical traditional assumptions of the male figure from Fire, the female figure from Kairos, and go from there. Fire is pretty much going to be the source of contention between all the other elements as well, but he isn't the bad guy. He's not evil. He's just different. Sometimes people just are different, and we don't like that about them. It's fine that you don't like it, or I don't like it, or whoever doesn't like it. When somebody becomes the bad guy is when it starts to become a problem. because that means somebody's either wanting to remove the bad guy or help the bad guy, and you can only help those who want to be helped, and who are you to judge? So the proper way to see it in my mind is to not say fire is the source of all conflict as the bad guy, but he can be the devil's advocate of almost any argument that you could want, because that's his purpose. That's the point of this character in this setting. Fiery, flame, anything you want to establish from the traditional aspects of fire that we do in life and apply it into this setting of fire, that's the point. So he's not the bad guy, but he can be wrong a lot of the time. I think he is wrong a lot of the time. But he does have a lot of justified reasons to be mad, as we'll get into. Reason number one to be mad is the secret origins of air. So air is the next one to be created of the founders. I still don't know the process. I don't know specifically how or why, but that's where we're at. So air fills in the space between fire and air and water, or earth, fills in that space. Just naturally starts to accumulate, but you can't see fire, or you can't see air. You can see the interactions of air with the other things around it. So, from Kairos' perspective, we now have fire in the sky, and due to how that is, that creates the blue sky. And so Kairos can see up to the heavens, all fine and dandy. That's terrible. We'll put that there. Let's not do that. So fire has no idea that air exists, and due to that, secrets hidden from mom about a secret sibling, classic problems there. The other thing that pops that doesn't help in this relationship is air does not communicate with anybody from the outside. Air is the bad guy of this setting. Air says nothing, does all, ends justify the means. Terrible person. Has no gender, has no personification other than bad guy. Because I wanted just a plain, simple bad guy. Because there are just bad people out there. They just want bad things. Don't know why they want bad things. Air, I do know what air wants and why, but that'll come a little bit later. As it currently stands, air just simply exists and has no want to interact with others, but does have a want to understand. So, observation is air's game right now. More time passes because nothing really happens here. Fire just grows more and more lonely and upset that he's so far away. And then water happens. So first you start off with ground. And then you've got let's do the fill tool. There we go. I'm surprised that worked. And then we'll just erase. Oh no, this is so weird. Well, the first evidence of things being wrong to fire is suddenly there is white stuff floating in between him and Earth, which is not great. See, it's nice and picturesque. Now revelations have started to hurt feelings. So we have air is the air, water is the water, or is the clouds, which deposit into the earth. At this point, Earth is still completely flat. Nothing to pool anywhere, so it all just soaks in and down. There's no plant life or anything yet, so it's just soaking into the dirt. Close to mother, blah blah this. Wants to get close to fire, that's making clouds. Getting stuck in between because air. So now there's a lot of personal conflict between all of them, and they don't really understand themselves to know how to deal with it. So time goes on, and they eventually settle in their issues. It becomes the steady state of the world that they have these problems, but they start moving on. They aren't necessarily solved, but history must march on, and more interesting things need to happen. So the first thing to happen is they get bored and they want to do stuff, and they realize that they have the ability to spawn things, to make, to create. They haven't done this before, at least not on purpose. Now they realize they can do it on purpose. So everything from here on is creation, post-creation. This is the beginning. This ends the beginning. The founding. This is the creation reality. This is not the creation myth. I would say nobody in the setting knows this. These are the backbone creatures of this entire setting. Everything revolves around them, literally. So, yeah. I like the distinction. I like knowing this is the true reality. There's no guessing about it. So we as the dungeon master can be sure there's no unreliable narrator between us and the foundations. So we can actually play with it and be sure what will happen as we move things around. So this is the founding. First was Kairos, then was Auron, then was Air, who remains unnamed. I started to go with Scent and Centaurian because the Scent are creatures that Air does create but does not tell anybody. He makes them in such ways that they can't be interacted with in any way, shape, or form normally. Even through magical means, but Dungeons and Dragons will get around that somehow. I don't know. But I haven't figured out a name for Air, so we have Kairos, and then Auron, then Air, and then finally Kayala. Kayala is water. These are the names These are the names of these deities. They are not divine in the same sense as, let's say, a spiritual god or a religious figure in that way, strictly. They are gods, but they're the gods of the inner world plus everything else. The normal gods, the stars, they only have real manifest power in their own realm themselves, the stars themselves. And through their followers and worshippers on the inner world can they interact. These four don't have that barrier. They are everything. So, these four gods could be said to be the original gods, and the other ones are false interpretations of these gods' powers. That's one way to look at it. They could be completely separate in every way, other than like literally different. They could have nothing to do with each other. These elemental gods could just be there, and the other gods don't care at all, because they are their own realms. They care about themselves and what they want. Because they can't do anything on the other world that's floating above them. Well, they can't do anything on the other worlds that are floating around them. So they could completely ignore these four founders. It's up to the setting, up to the story, up to the player group at the time, who wants to do what. So I tend to just think of these four not as gods. I tend to think of them as just straight up people. Kairos is the Mother Earth figure. She's the divine mom. The ideal woman, the ideal femininity, whatever you want to attach to that half of the spectrum. And then the other half being Aaron, fire. Fire is the fiery, hot father figure. Or hot-tempered sibling. Air is the silent middle child. And Kyle is the pampered younger brat. So it seems like these three all have the negatives except for Kairos, the mother. Her problem is she's the all-caring mother. She cares for everything too much. She is willing to do nothing when something should be done, because she can't pick between her favorite children. And if you flip that to the other side and look at it from the outside in, everyone else will see that she has a favorite, but she won't admit it. So, classic parent-child relationship problem there. These are the flaws with these characters, the character traits I wanted attached to these elements. Let's see. So I don't know how these characters look either. I've only ever just thought of them as abstract concepts that happen to be manifestly real. Since they are these things, they are wherever those things are in reality. Fire is the sun, so he's just where the sun is. The Kairos is earth, so she's wherever ground is, or rock. Air is wherever air is, however thin that may be, which is why he's still in the ether, but not as much, because got to have some sort of space fantasy setting. And Kyle is where all the water is, anywhere, shape, or form that there's water, throughout the whole universe. I don't know if we should move on from the founders in this recording. It's pretty much what we've been focusing on. How they were created, or when they were created, the order in which they were created. We don't know how they were created, and we don't know why they were created, other than we know it's just a tabletop RPG setting. So we gotta start somewhere. I think I've been thinking about it lately. I think I want that to be the conceit of the setting, in that a character within the realm can notice that everything really does move by some sort of source of conflict, and realize that Kairos not having an understood creation probably means she has the same origin of something created her, and they can't find that part out because there's no. It's because they're fake. That's reality. They are fake. So, and that can be kind of a grounding point, because I think sometimes when people are trying to create a setting, I fell into this trap a few times when developing this one. It's a game. It's just a game. This means nothing in the end. I like it. I enjoy it. This is fun. I'm doing it in my free time because it's fun. It doesn't really have any other importance other than it's fun. So remember that you are the source of everything that guides this setting. Kairos is the first step in translating what you want into this world. And you can make Kairos into a character that abides by that however you see fit to needing it. She's the whimsical mother, all caring, all loving, is good in that way. She does genuinely care for all things. It's not like in real life where somebody can say that they care for everything, but they still have to make the choice between helping one thing and helping the other thing, because you literally can't do both at the same time. Fantasyland, Mother Earth can do that, but not to the points that she won't for the things that really matter, because things got to be learned in fantasy. So that's what's got to be learned here. But the fact remains, seeming contradictions can exist, and that's one here. Yeah, we got mostly a reminder for the dungeon master as they're perusing through the setting. It's just a game, if a player wants to do this one thing, we can say Kairos really wants this player to do this one thing because she is the end-all, be-all of everything in this setting. She'll trump even Fire, who is usually the one that wants people to do things in conflict or drama. So it's an easy anchoring point for any of those kinds of justifications that you'd need from a box set setting, I suppose. Don't take yourself too seriously. But you can if you want to. There's always an option. You can choose to take it way too seriously. And sometimes that's a lot of fun. Really, the next step after the founding and these characters becoming created and establishing themselves, they move on to creating life from themselves. That's the important part here. All creation happens from fuel that is these founders. All four of them are the same stuff, the same thing, and that is mana. Mana is the magical fuel, is what causes magic to happen to be. Magic in this, we will get into what that magic means in this setting in a later video, but know that magic both means science and what you classically think magic should be, like the whimsy of it all. Still 100% here, and both of those things are fueled by mana. It's the one link that you need. You gotta have some sort of understood link between it all. And I don't like the weave. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't buy it. Granted, string theory doesn't make sense to me, and I don't buy it. So, what can you do? So I had to come up with all the magic whole cloth, and it's finally resulted in these four beings all being the same stuff, the same thing, and that's what they created life. And that's Air's major problem. Air does not like that it takes Air's stuff to make things and make Air, quote, lesser for it, even though it just changed forms. So, the founding is over. The Abdomic era. So we are moving on in this session. The Abdomic era is the next part after the founding. It is what the founders created first. They're called Abdomic because I accidentally misspelt Abomination on the phone once. It didn't autocorrect, and I liked it. So these are the first creations. These are the demon, devil. These are the Abomination creations, the powerful, monstrous Titan things that need to be in fantasy somewhere. The alien queen. She's an Abdomic. The Balrog would be an Abdomic. Sauron would be a good analog in this case for what would be considered an Abdomic. Something that is a quote demigod figure, because these are of the time where the gods are this is the prehistory era. So think of it kind of like Conan. Conan is prehistory, where even Atlantis at this point, I guess, is lost to time, but still closer than it was in ancient history. So all the uber powerful chaos, law, unestablished feelings you have about fantasy, those kinds of creatures are here. This is where they're created and destroyed. All of them were killed by the end of this era. Of course, I have a few still hanging around. They were either killed or defeated. The last one wasn't killed, and he was chased off the world. So, it starts with the creation of the first Abdymik, which I don't know yet. That would be nice to know. I don't know how to imagine it yet, but it could go quite a few different ways. It could be a cute, cuddly thing that they thought, hey, we could do this, or it could be just the worst, awful thing that's like, well, this is just the first shot. We'll get better. There are a few that I have thought of, and these are the ones that are still stuck around. Well, Goral was one. He is the humanoid Abdymik, essentially. He was the final mega creation of the Abdymik, where they realized, okay, well, this is just bad. These are not good. We need to get rid of them. And then that started the Primordial era. So Goral is the epitome bad guy. Evil, just not made for this world. Not supposed to be here. And now isn't. In current era isn't, but from this era he was here. And then there's the I haven't figured out a name for them yet, but they're trapped kind of like Dracula in the beginning of Dracula Untold. Not Dracula, the vampire creature in the beginning of Dracula Untold. That was the inspiration for this one. I like the idea of there being a creature or a type of creature that was cursed to remain in one place and they can't go anywhere else. They'll be just straight up killed and murked by the things that were created to kill them. So they're cursed in this one spot because they can't move, but then the things meant to kill them are now pretty much gone, but they still can't move because of this curse, so their freedom is just out of reach. And players can just run into these things. They're powerful enough to be warlock sources or whatever you want. So trapped ones, that's what these are. There's a soul that's trapped in a knife. Queen Neve, my wife's dagger has a soul trapped in it. Well, due to reasons, it had to be a specific kind of soul, and this is what it happened to have. It had to be one of these things. The implications of that are weird, so I haven't really thought about it much. For all outward appearances, it's good. It helps the player characters. She has not steered her wrong and has no traitorous moves so far. What was another Abdymik? I can't recall. But there were hundreds of thousands. I say hundreds of thousands. Unknown number, big or small. Run amok, ruin the entire world. The unending landscape of the rocky surface of Kairos was utterly malformed. Air was corrupted, water was corrupted, fire was corrupted. Everything was just bad at this point. And so fire had enough fighting back this corruption and said, I'm done. And created the Primordials. First of the Primordials are, of course, fires. Ardor. They are the Ardor. Ar meaning fire, Dor meaning children of. Sure, we'll make that what that means. So there are 6 children of fire. The first 2 are, you're going to love this. The first Lord. The first Lord and Lady of Fire. And then there are 4 children. They have traditional children from this. One of them I know of off the top of my head is the Blue Flame. I believe she's the only daughter of the Ardor. But I don't know yet, officially. She eventually dies later, much later, much later, through the eras. So these are the Ardor. They were the first lady and the first lord. They were the first 2, and then their children came. Before their children came the Belnetian. There are 12 of them because Kyla needed to one up Aron. And I have their names written down and them listed, and I have their personalities. I just don't like them. I need to go back and redo the names, except for one whose name doesn't matter anymore. It's been scraped from history. The most important Balnesian is the Tortured God. The King of the Abyss, the one the Abyss was created for keep him in. He is the Demon King. The demons only exist to keep him in the Abyss. That's their, and keep everything else out. No interaction, so they kill anything. That's why they're the demons. Anything abyssal related, that's this guy. He is the I guess you could say the epitome of lawful evil in this setting. The reason he's the tortured god is due to him. He was the fault of a lot of things that happened in the Abdemic era that caused Gorl to escape and the first lord or first lady to die, and the first lord was petrified, and it's all his fault. There are reasons that we'll go into later, but it's all his fault, and he was punished for it. The gods, the stars, his punishment is their source of eternal conflict. Some say he was righteous, some say he was not, and thus the war of law and chaos began at that moment. But that's later. That's at the end of the Abdemic era. And to end it all, Earth could not be left out, but she did one-up them all with the Illuvium. There are 3 Illuvium. The one that made the mountains, the one that made the valleys, and the one that spread life. Basic life. Plant life, fungus, basic animal life, those things. And then the other founders contributed towards those things later, but she's the one that started with the Illuvium. All 3 Illuvium are, one's trapped, one has run away, the other one's dead. So the primordials were created specifically to, one, destroy all the Abdemic and then resettle the universe with peaceful life, peaceful things going on. The Arter spread. Uh, the systems in which fire operate in real life, that's their fault. The Balnesian, same thing with water, and the Illuvium, the same thing, and how they all interact. That is all established from these guys after they finally kill off all the Abdemic. To end the Abdemic era is the betrayal of the Tortured One, the Tortured God, and the Arter. So this is when history kind of begins, because anything before this was just fighting, pure, just utter chaos. History begins here. The first betrayal, the first scheme, the first plot, first everything bad, human related, starts here. Conflict has forever changed the universe once more. How long have we been going for now? About 45 minutes. I'll go a little bit more. Not much really else happens in the Abdemic era other than we just need a place where there is a time before time. And then this is the before time. The conflict between the primordials and the Abdemic, pretty one-sided. Okay, here we go. We can talk about this. This betrayal, it was on many levels. It was pretty much on every level that you can think. And the topmost, highmost level is Air betrayed this Balnesian. This Balnesian is the Tortured God, was the first person that Air would have had to have interacted with for this betrayal to end up this way. And then Gorl's pretty much the second person to figure out a way to interact with Air, which I personally still don't know how that would be done, other than forcing Air's hand. So, the Tortured God, his only goal is kill the final Abdemic, Gorl. That's his goal. That's what he was made for. That's what he's going to do. Nobody else is doing it. So he thinks and thinks and forms a plan that takes forever to accomplish, and he gets through 99.99% of it. And then Air betrays the Tortured God by communicating with Gorl to save Gorl. So, the Tortured God needed Air for something. I don't know what. And Air didn't show up to do what he needed to. And Gorl leapt. Gorl's leap is the beginning of history as most people would understand it in that frame of reference. So, Air betrayed the Tortured God and saved Gorl. Gorl knew he was going to be saved due to whatever promise between the two of them would convince Air to do this, which, again, I don't know yet. So Gorl leaps and is stuck and reveals the existence of Air to everything that exists to this point, which isn't much. There's nothing. Only the Abdemic, which are all destroyed at this point, except for Goro, quote unquote, and the 21. Wait, 6, 12, yeah, 18, yeah, 21 other creatures. So Air reveals himself or themselves, captures Goro in the air in the sky, and prevents his death. Due to that, the First Lady of Fire is killed by Goro to accomplish this. Because I'm guessing that is what Air needed. Needed a primordial dead. Because at this point, none of them have died so far. So maybe that's what it is. We'll write that down. All right. Let's see. So, Air needed a dead primordial. Goro promised one, delivered one, and was saved, and that resulted in the tortured god being pretty much blamed for the whole catastrophe of it all. And don't get me wrong, it is his fault. None of this would have been possible without him. It is definitely his fault, and he knew if caught, it would be this bad. He knew it. He did it anyway. He is a bad guy. Chose this path, and he was just betrayed by another bad guy. Twice over, I suppose. And you get what you pay for. So, yeah. Yeah, I think Air needed the dead primordial because Air needed confirmation of his theory, in that his theory being the creations that of these primordials and the Abdemic diminished the founder's abilities than what they could actually be. So think of it as the more individualized their what makes them up is, the less of the total whole that is the individual remains. So the more life that is created, the less Kairos is conscious and actually Kairos until it all comes back together again. If it even does. There's no saying that it really does. And in fact, there's a saying that it's supposed to, but it doesn't because of Air. So Air did get that confirmation with the death of the First Lady, and pretty much sealed the deal of what will be going on from then on out. Note, the primordials the souls of the primordials are controlled by the founders that created them. Whole cloth. There's nothing in between them. They're that close to the divinity that created them. So, for example, Fire and his six creations, they are all can essentially be considered the same type of being. Different from, let's say, a fire dwarf is a creation of fire, but made differently. than the Arter were, so it are not the same creature. Uh, Therefore, the control in which fire has directly over the souls of the Arter is much greater and much more specific than that of another soul, and that comes important later. The 6 Arter, they're all dead, and fire got to dictate where those souls get. They did go. They could have gone back to fire himself. One the Balnesians' souls did go back. Most of them did go back to Kayala when they died. So, the important thing to remember is one creation can have full control over the other creations of the same equivalent status and creation of them. Abdulmekir, Gorl's Leap. Oh, and then Gorl's Leap takes us right back to here. That's the state, after Gorl leaps, that's the state of this world. That's this world. With the mountain in the middle, the mountain ring on the side, the giant ocean in the middle, all that. That we're now historically caught up to how this looks. How this thing looks. There we go. How this thing looks. I need to flip that around so it looks better. But then it gets weird. Anyway. So now you can kind of see where pieces fit within the historical context. Why the abyss is where it is, you can guess where it is and why it is that shape and blah blah this. And now we see that there's the underside, the good side of the intentions, things. Then there's the unintended consequences, the bad things that stack up, and that's the underneath side. The moon that was created is Gorl's fortress. That's for what it was known for the longest time, is Gorl's world, Gorl's fortress. But there's no interaction between things going between here and there, because there were no flying things before Gorl re-invaded later, and that's when Gorl betrayed Air, and Air didn't realize it. But that's the beginning of the end for them. So that's the historical origins of this universe and how it looks. I think it's pretty good for this this go through. This has been established canon for me since the founding of this universe 10 years ago. I wanted the driving thing in this universe to be personal conflict. And that's finally what I have, and I'm willing to share with the open world. Mostly, this is so my players, if they ever want to dig into these things, I'll just have something I can point them to. Eventually, this will move into the real world. I will be printing off everything, putting them in books, and putting them on bookshelves that I don't have yet. Well, I gotta make them. That'll be a slow, ongoing process. This all transforming into a wizard who studies the world and universe of Kairos. That's what this room will become. I've already got some physical designs, some mathematical proofs for how a wizard would prove the world's dimensions and different things. Those will go up on the walls. But I'm going to be changing everything about this room. I'm going to be ripping up the floors, taking down the walls, replacing the insulation, replacing the ceiling, everything. I'm going to start from the ground up to make this just how I want it. It's going to be a fantasy window. It's going to have 3 TVs, all vertical, and they will all display like a different world that I want them to at the time. The floors will be custom, so there can be useful for tabletop RPGs and playing games in here. The table in the middle will be a nice big round table. It's going to be great. So I need this to help keep me on track. Because now that I have this going, I can see where I'm going to go next and refer back to what I have done and where I want it to go. Being ADHD is bad. So